you've seen that being an older man who attracts attention is not the same as making women cringe on the inside. Both kinds, the silver-haired guy at the bar with the quiet confidence, effortlessly drawing younger women into his orbit. And then there's the other type, the one trying too hard, the one who doesn't know he's embarrassing himself. This isn't about looks, it's never just about looks. It's about presence, energy, and self-awareness, because nothing turns a younger woman off faster than an older man who acts the way he thinks she wants him to act, rather than owning who he actually is. So if you've ever wondered why younger women seem interested at first, but then quickly pull away, chances are you're making one of these 7 mistakes. And the worst part, you might not even realize it. Let's get into it. Habit 1, trying to act young instead of owning your age. Nothing repels a younger woman faster than an older guy, desperately clinging to youth. You know, the type wearing sneakers meant for teenagers, talking in slang that expired 5 years ago, bringing up TikTok trends like he's keeping up, when in reality, he's just copying what he saw on some list about how to relate to Gen Z. Here's the thing, you're not 25, and that's okay. In fact, it's your advantage, because younger women aren't with older men because they want someone else who is 25. They want something that younger men can't give them: stability, depth, and a sense of who the hell you are. However, when you try to look like you're younger, you lose what makes you attractive in the first place: the uncoolness of trying too hard. Imagine walking into a bar and seeing a man in his 40s wearing oversized hoodie sneakers that cost more than his rent. He's saying things like, "No cap, F-far." There's a reason Sean Connery was still attracting attention in his 60s. He wasn't out here acting like he was in his 20s. Instead, he was taking pride in his age and making it look amazing. Respect is accorded to a guy who accepts his age, whereas a man who resists it appears desperate. You aspire to look like an older man. Rather than following trends, quit aiming to be younger and start being better. Instead of learning Gen, grasp the timeless style. Rather than pushing oneself into young settings, Z slang is made up of well-spoken, clear words that have a greater impact than any popular phrase. Create your own space to attract younger people because, in the end, women, especially younger ones, prefer men who are confident in who they are. Habit 2. Displaying your wealth in a way that betrays insecurity. Let's face it, money is attractive because it denotes stability, success, and capability. But the moment you start showing it off, it becomes a turn-off. There is a difference between a wealthy man and a man who uses wealth to hide insecurity. And believe me when I say that women can tell the difference from a mile away. Imagine this. A man in his late 40s is on a date with a younger woman, and within the first 10 minutes, he is mentioning pricey restaurants. Younger women don't hate older men having money. They hate it when older men believe that money is all they bring to the table. She nods as he discusses his Porsche and the price of his watch. She gives me a kind smile, but on the inside she's totally turned off since she's seeing a man who's screaming instead of one who exudes confidence. Let me wow you. A truly successful man allows his presence, lifestyle, and self-assurance speak for itself. He doesn't feel the need to continuously prove it. A rich man who requires you to know he's affluent is actually poorer than he thinks out of habit. 3. If there's one thing that will instantly turn off a younger woman, it's an older man who sounds bitter about the dating scene. You know, the kind of guy who is constantly complaining about how women today are entitled, how women were different in my day, and how social media has ruined everything. Listen, some of that may be true, and when you start complaining about women, you're telling them that you feel helpless in dating and that you have unresolved resentment. The world has changed, but the moment you start ranting about it, You put yourself in the same category as the guy at the bar who is screaming that music was better in the 1980s. Doesn't make you sound wise, it makes you sound old, which is why it's so unattractive. 3. You blame rather than adapt. And there's nothing less appealing than a man who blames the world rather than finding ways to prosper in it. The adage, the tighter you hold on to something, the faster it slips through your fingers, is true in relationships, but younger women despise older men who behave like victims and have the fourth tendency of being overly possessive and controlling. Younger women despise older men who treat them like property, but they do not despise older men in general. The worst part is that most men are unaware that they are doing it. At first, it seems like caring. Text me when you get there. Who are you going out with? You're wearing that. But gradually, it turns into control. Why didn't you answer my call immediately? I don't like you hanging out with those friends. I don't trust guys around you. And then, suddenly, what started as attraction turns into suffocation. Because, let's face it, no woman, especially a younger one, wants to feel like she's in a cage. Men aren't inherently domineering, but some men learn this trait from life. By the time a man is in his 40s or 50s, he has most likely gone through one violent breakup in which he was caught off guard, and another in which a woman left him for someone better. 3. Seeing younger, attractive men as his competitors, he begins to guard his woman like a possession instead of truly believing that he is enough. He thinks that if he watches her closely, she won't cheat, and if he checks her phone, he'll always know the truth. If he controls her world, she won't leave, but the problem is that he doesn't realize that he's killing attraction faster than anything else, because control doesn't keep a woman. It makes her run habit 5, talking down to her like a child. One of the worst things older men can do is to stop being attractive and start being condescending. It happens so easily that they don't even realize it. They assume that because they have more life experience, they have the right to correct her all the time, explain things to her, and tell her how the world really works. And guess what? Nothing dries up attraction faster. Imagine a young woman telling her older boyfriend about something she recently learned. Perhaps it's a new book, an interesting fact, or something she's passionate about, and then watching how the wrong kind of man reacts, Oh, that's cute. You just figured that out. Yeah, I've known that for years. Trust me, you don't really understand how that... But it's subtle, but it kills attraction instantly. Why? Because instead of engaging with her, women, particularly younger ones, prefer to be heard and understand the psychology behind this rather than being lectured. Fails older men sometimes believe their value in a relationship comes from being the wise teacher, and while there's nothing wrong with sharing knowledge, the way you do it determines everything you can. Either 1, be the older man who makes her feel stupid, 2, be the older man who makes her feel inspired. One will push her away, the other will make her drawn to you. Habit 6, dressing like you've given up on life. Let's be brutally honest, attraction is visual. It doesn't matter how intelligent, successful, or charismatic you are. If you look like you've just rolled out of bed, you're already at a disadvantage. And older men, many of them fall into this trap somewhere along the way. They stop caring about how they look. They tell themselves, I'm too old to dress stylishly. I don't have anyone to impress. If a woman really likes me, she'll like me for who I am. But here's the cold, hard truth. Women are wired to be attracted to men who take care of themselves. You don't need to dress like a 25-year-old influencer. You don't need to chase trends. But if you look like you've given up, she's not going to be into you. Why this happens? When a woman sees a man who doesn't seem to put in much effort, she doesn't think, oh, he must be a deep thinker who doesn't care about material things number. Instead, she thinks, if this is how little effort he puts into himself, how little is he going to put into me? Comfort is the enemy of attraction. Men, especially older men, can sometimes develop a false sense of security. Maybe they've had a long-term relationship or marriage where they didn't have to try. Maybe they've just gotten comfortable. The difference between old and distinguished is over, but most men are unaware that women prefer older men but despise those who appear to have given up. Take George Clooney, Idris Elba, or Pierce Brosnan, for example. These men aren't young, but they own their age with style. They don't try to look 20. Instead, they dress like self-respecting men, which is the most important self-respecting habit. 7. Acting as though you know everything. There is nothing worse than a man who believes he is the smartest person in the room. Older men do this unknowingly because they believe that because they have lived longer, seen more, and experienced more, they are entitled to lecture younger women about everything. However, the truth is that women want a partner, not a professor. The delicate distinction between condescension and confidence. Let's say you're on a date and she's talking about something she's excited about, like a book, a new business idea, or even just a hobby. An attractive older man listens, engages, and encourages her passion, but the man who ruins it does this. Let me explain. In his mind, he's just being helpful, but to her, he's being condescending. Why is this so unattractive? When a man corrects a woman repeatedly, or acts as though her opinions are valid, it sends a clear and loud message. There's nothing wrong with an older man dating a younger lady. I don't respect your opinion, and no woman, regardless of age, wants to feel that way. It can actually be one of the most exciting and rewarding relationships in the world when done correctly. But if you make these mistakes and appear domineering, insecure, condescending, or as though you've given up on yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure. It is not necessary to be young to be attractive. All you need to do is be a man who values himself, gives her space instead of suffocating her, listens instead of lecturing, and stays sharp instead of letting himself go. When you exhibit these qualities, women will be drawn to you regardless of your age, 40, 50, or 60.